This next story I'm going to share, I'm so excited about this. So this story has gone viral. So this story is not by no means going to be your first time hearing it, possibly. Credit to Mr. Nightmare where I actually had heard this story. It's everywhere. This is a popular one, and I actually have footage to share along with it. So I'm extra excited. This should be fun. This story is called Terrifying Crawl Space Horror Story. It's by Jake H. Usually the scariest things you'll find in a crawl space would be mice or spiders, maybe crickets. Jake found something way more terrifying than any creature in his crawl space. Jake lives in a nice neighborhood and owns his own house, where his girlfriend lives with him. Jake met his girlfriend in their local community. The two hit it off and would eventually start the date. At some point during this time, she opened up to him about her old abusive ex. She described her ex as a ticking time bomb. He would often be very sweet, and she did like his more genuine kind side, but he could at a switch become a completely different person. One side, like she mentioned, was sweet. The other side was a very aggressive, scary man who would do things like fight bouncers at bars, punch holes in walls, or even sometimes actually get physically abusive with her. Things would become so rocky between the two that eventually she would end things with her ex, but he didn't take that news well. She feared that her ex was stalking her, an example, at her parents' house during the late night hours. Either she or her parents would hear sounds from the backyard, things like a gate slamming shut or the back door shed closing. She made the decision to disable all forms of social media after the breakup, and she became very concerned, so concerned for her well-being that she actually decided to move in with her boyfriend, Jake. Started the story with. On one regular night that Jake's girlfriend wasn't in the house with him, he was in his living room when he heard noises coming from the crawl space. He moved from the living room to his kitchen and sat at the island for a while, continuing to listen and kept hearing these strange noises, occasionally thumping sounds from directly below him. It was at this time where he started to record a video for a Snapchat story. Assuming that he was hearing an animal of some kind, such as a raccoon, he thought this would be an entertaining thing to record for Snapchat, which it does sound like it would be, right? A raccoon in your crawl space. I've had a squirrel in my attic. That definitely was not fun. As he enters the crawl space, he stops recording for a second, and we'll get in this video here in a second. And I did edit this video down shorter, so if you're watching it, that's not the complete original presentation. So don't think that it's edited in any sort of way, because that was me. You'll see the light come on it sometimes so he can see when he gets down in the crawl space. Also note that the crawl space appears to be mostly empty, aside from some boxes that were tucked into the corner. Jake said that he saw these boxes this way. He was confused because he didn't remember leaving them that way. So Jake decides to walk deeper into the crawl space. We're going to pick up on the video now, and actually it'll do a short recap of what we talked about. He's sitting at the kitchen on the island when he's hearing these noises, when he starts to record this on Snapchat.
What the fuck is that noise? Holy shit. That's gotta be an animal. Oh, jeez.
just leave that up there for a second, and I will pick back up on the story here in a moment. But it's important to note, and we'll get into it here. This is where the video ends, and if anybody listening has used Snapchat, that's because when you basically have to hold down the screen that says record. So as soon as you let off your finger off the screen, it stops recording. So that explains that. Let me summarize. Let me finish up the story here. Jake said that he heard a noise in one corner, like pebbles being scraped on the concrete floor. As he heard the noise, he turned to the corner, and this is where he saw the most terrifying sight. The sight of somebody hunched over dressed in all black who was hiding in the corner. When spotted, the individual started approaching him, which you could see in the video. The scream that Jake sounded like sounded completely legitimate. Somebody witnessing something very disturbing as an intruder hiding in their crawl space, and then basically lunging at them. The video cuts out seconds later, like I just said, because of the Snapchat. He did go on to explain what happened to the rest of this event. He ran back to the ladder of his crawl space, and as he was climbing up, a hand grabbed his leg and tried to pull him back down into the crawl space. By kicking the hand off of his leg, he was able to shut the crawl space door in their face. Unfortunately, the door to the closet, which contained the crawl space, didn't have a lock, so Jake's first instinct was to run to the kitchen and grab the biggest knife and lock himself inside the bathroom. He said he heard the closet door open and footsteps come out of the bathroom door, and then the person on the other side of the door tried to turn the doorknob. Not knowing what kind of weapons the intruder might have, Jake didn't engage the intruder in a fight. Instead, he silently called 911 and kept the line going, and eventually he heard footsteps quickly leave the house and out the front door. Now Jake told the 911 operator about the incident. Jake's girlfriend refused to come to the house after hearing of this incident because she swore left and right that the man in the video had to be her ex. It's impossible to make out any notable facial features in the video. You can see that the person was wearing all black and their head was covered by a hood. Jake also described the man to be very tall, intimidating stature, despite being hunched over in the crawl space. Jake's girlfriend said her ex was very tall, and upon watching the video, she swears it looks just like him. Of course, it's just speculation on her part, and without solid evidence legally, they don't have many options. They didn't have many options. In the video he shared, you can hear loud thumping and hammering type sounds in the beginning. After going back into the crawl space and investigating, Jake found that the intruder had been ripping through some insulation on the crawl space and been actually hammering at some of the wood on the ceiling of the crawl space. It's unknown what he was doing. It was also discovered that the couple hides in one of their sheds, the house key, was missing, which probably revealed how the intruder got inside. Jake changed the locks on the door that exact same night. His girlfriend has yet to return to the house. She's almost certain now that she's being stalked by her crazy ex-boyfriend. Jake has installed a Ring doorbell camera recently, and on the occasion he's getting a notification by Alexa device that there's someone at the front door, but there's never anybody actually there when he looks, not visibly at least. It's crazy to think this started with a guy simply trying to get a funny Snapchat story of what he's soon to be a raccoon or something in his crawl space, but turned into something much more horrifying. Okay, well, I was terrified when I saw his crawl space because it looks identical to the crawl space entrance in my house. Same carpet. It looks pretty close to mine. And mine, actually, the entrance to my crawl space is in my utility room, my laundry room. So same sort of setup. So yeah, I'm with you there, dude. I felt it completely. You really can't walk comfortably. It's almost more comfortable to scoot around on your knees. Oh man, that was rough. I saw that though, and I was like, man, that is terrifying. Especially since I'm actually going to show that video to my nephew, Emery, because recently we set him down in our crawl space to run some wire for us. The comments during this video there were a lot. There were dozens. Of course, saying, don't go down there. Don't be stupid. Why would you go down there? Why? A lot of whys. F that. Somebody said, what the hell? If I hear something like that in my crawl space, I'm throwing bug bombs down there. So I will say, okay, so right before we bought our first house, we lived in this little rental, and squirrels got into the attic. They got in between the roof and whatever got into there. And you do hear the sounds my first instinct's like and there's so many horror stories out there of things being in the attic too. Yeah, my first instinct was it's a squirrel, it's a raccoon or something. But in that particular house, you went up a pull down ladder into this attic, and you look around, and that, just like my house now, has that like spray foam stuff everywhere. It's not like there is insulation laid up on the walls and stuff like that, but it's mostly that foam all over the floor. So you really can't see shit, basically, right? I mean, but in a crawl space like this particular one, it's just so wide open. And once he got around the corner and he moves that camera and you see that person, it was truly a jump scare. And the reason I think it's so real is because when you are on Snapchat, once you let go of the screen, it's off. And if that happened to you, you would not be able to keep recording. Right. It's not possible. First of all, you get scared. You'd release the screen. Second of all, if you're running upstairs and all that, you wouldn't be able to keep recording. So it's like a real legitimate story to me.
I agree. Yeah. I will say, though, that I've had a raccoon in my crawl space before, and I would recognize that was not a raccoon noise.
Actually, and it touched up on at the end of the story. There were some photos of when he went back down there, and that person was just freaking hacking away at stuff down there. Like, pulled off the insulation and was just,
I can't even fathom what he was doing. Like I was trying to piece it together. Like, what would you do? Why would you be doing that?
Like, I don't know, maybe he was and there was even some damage to the pipes and stuff too. My thought went to, is he trying to like do it in a spot where he could pop up and scare them? Like, or get the girlfriend, like assuming it is this crazy ex? You know, I don't know.
I wonder what his plan was. That is easy. But I mean, if you're crazy enough to go live in someone's crawl space, then your plans are probably not sound.
Makes you wonder how long you were down there. Doesn't seem like the type of place that you could, there's no entry from the outside. So yeah, somebody brought up a good point. Setting up a break-in, maybe.
Oh,
maybe. I mean, leave for the day and go back out and take your stuff. But I don't know. Seems like they could have already done that, right? Because they had to get into the house when he wasn't there, you'd assume.
Yeah, because he said the key was missing, so I think that's how.
And this all happened in the nighttime hours, so I mean, you'd assume that the person got in there and they were gone there today, but then again, I guess you never know. You just wonder how long they're down there. It's not a very comfortable place to hang out.
No, because this guy was very tall. You could tell by how tall he was while crouching down. So this would be a very uncomfortable position to be in. It's just the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Let's watch the end one more time before we move on.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah, so like right there, he's like half, bent over, and he's still nearing the top of that.
Yeah, it's the most terrifying thing ever. The person was definitely trying to hide in the corner. Like maybe, like you got stuck in a spot where you couldn't really navigate the rest of crawl space, so you're kind of SOL. I'll just try to hide in the corner. That's not the scariest thing ever, then I don't know.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Someone said best story of the show yet. Thank you. I appreciate that. I was really excited to share that. It's not like originally sent to us, so I do want to note that. But definitely, if you want to see a bunch of more content like that, Mr. Nightmare is the way to go. There's a bunch of stuff like that.
Jeff Townsend Media. CG, good night.
And the question is, do I stay here?
Will you be back? Are you gonna come back? Will you be back? Are you coming back?